Imagine waking up in a place where everyone knows your name, where streets hum with the rhythm of daily life, and neighbors greet each other like family. That was Ashwood, a small town tucked between rolling hills and dense forests, a place where life felt safe, predictable, almost timeless. Children played in the streets until the sun dipped below the horizon. Shopkeepers greeted every customer with a smile, and the local diner's bell rang constantly as townsfolk grabbed their morning coffee. Ashwood wasn't famous. It didn't have grand monuments or sprawling industries, but it had something rarer, a sense of belonging. Families had lived there for generations. Stories of the past were whispered from grandparents to grandchildren. Everyone knew who to turn to in times of need. To outsiders, it might have looked like just another sleepy town, but for those who called it home, Ashwood was everything. On the surface, nothing seemed out of place. The town's newspaper carried the usual mix of local announcements and mundane stories. The post office operated on schedule. Kids went to school. Farmers tended their fields. And yet, beneath this calm, some subtle changes were beginning to creep in. A few residents whispered about strange noises in the night, echoes that didn't belong. Shadows flickered in empty streets. A sense of unease lingered, but it was dismissed as imagination, or perhaps the kind of stories small towns tell themselves to explain the unexplainable. One ordinary Wednesday, Ashwood's routine began as usual. The morning sun painted the streets gold. Shop doors opened, the school bus rumbled down Main Street, and the bakery's oven filled the air with warm bread smells. But by evening, everything would change. The laughter, the smells, the chatter, all would vanish as if the town had never existed. Families who left for work or errands that day would return to nothing. Empty streets, abandoned homes, a silence so deep it seemed almost wrong, unnatural. It's hard to imagine such normalcy disappearing overnight. Imagine coming home, expecting to see your world waiting for you, and instead, finding only echoes. No footprints, no signs of struggle, no explanation. Just gone. That was Ashwood's last gift. It left its story suspended in time, hauntingly frozen for anyone who dared to look back. The town's sudden disappearance would soon capture the imagination of journalists, historians, and conspiracy theorists alike. People would ask the same question over and over. How does an entire town vanish without a trace? And the truth is far stranger than anyone could have guessed. It started like any other evening. The sun dipped behind the hills, painting the sky in shades of crimson and gold. Families settled into their homes, lights flickering on as night took hold. The streets of Ashwood were quiet but familiar, the kind of quiet that feels safe until it doesn't. At around 9 p.m., strange things began. First, the animals reacted. Dogs barked frantically, cats hissed, birds vanished from the trees. A low hum, almost imperceptible at first, rippled through the air. Windows rattled, streetlights flickered. Some residents thought it was a storm brewing, but the sky was clear. Then came the tremors, subtle at first, like a gentle vibration underfoot, then stronger, shaking walls and furniture. People ran outside, trying to make sense of it. Eyewitness accounts paint a scene of utter chaos. Mary Collins, a local schoolteacher, described it as like the ground itself had been ripped apart, yet nothing fell from the sky. Neighbors shouted to each other, trying to hold onto some thread of reality. And then, just as suddenly as it began, it stopped. But Ashwood wasn't the same. Streets that were once filled with laughter were silent. Homes that had held generations were empty. Families vanished mid-conversation. Dinner sat uneaten on tables. Lights blinked in abandoned houses, then went out forever. The town had disappeared almost instantly, leaving behind only empty shells of buildings and a lingering sense of dread. Those who were away that night, the few travelers passing through, reported a chilling stillness when they drove past. It was as if the town had been erased from existence, like someone had taken an eraser to a perfectly drawn map. Nothing stirred. Not a single soul. Some say they felt a strange weight in the air, a heaviness that pressed down like the town itself was holding its breath. Local authorities arrived the next morning to investigate. They found no signs of evacuation, no emergency calls, nothing to indicate a planned departure. Cars were still parked in driveways. Beds were unmade. Even the dogs were gone. It was as if the town had been plucked from reality, leaving only questions. The event would leave a mark on everyone who heard about it. A town that vanished overnight wasn't just a news story. It became a legend. Historians debated, scientists hypothesized, and storytellers told the tale of Ashwood's final night for decades. But the deeper you dig, the stranger it gets, and the more you start to wonder, was it really a natural disaster? Or something far more mysterious? Even decades later, Ashwood whispers through the pages of history, but only in fragments. Old photographs, personal journals, and faded letters offer glimpses of a town that once thrived. Some of the artifacts are hauntingly ordinary. A child's school book left open, a pair of shoes neatly lined by a doorstep. And yet, each item carries a weight, a reminder of lives frozen mid-motion. Take the diary of Jonathan Pierce, a baker's apprentice. In it, he chronicled the simple joys of his daily life. Mixing dough at dawn, chatting with neighbors, the occasional argument with his sister over chores. His last entry, dated the night of the disappearance, reads almost like a normal day, with a line at the end that seems almost prophetic. I feel something strange tonight, like the air itself is holding its breath. That line, brief and innocent, has haunted historians for decades. Eyewitnesses who were away during the event reported something even more unsettling. People who passed through Ashwood's outskirts described an eerie silence, thick and unnatural. Travelers claimed the air felt colder, heavier. Some reported fleeting figures in the fog, vague shapes that seemed human but vanished when approached. A local journalist who drove past the empty town years later said, "It was as if Ashwood had become a photograph you could walk into, frozen forever, but somehow alive in its stillness." Even today, paranormal enthusiasts and historians visit the area. Some claim to hear whispers on windless nights, footsteps on abandoned streets, and the faint smell of smoke from fireplaces long cold. Others report feeling sudden, inexplicable chills, as though the town itself is aware of their presence. These echoes aren't just stories. They're a haunting reminder that some places leave imprints that time cannot erase. The mystery of Ashwood isn't just about a town disappearing. It's about the memory of lives interrupted. Families who vanished left no wills, no plans, no traceable actions. Their stories exist only in the remnants, in personal items that became relics, in photographs capturing moments that would never be repeated. It's this tension between normalcy and sudden absence that grips people the most. Ashwood was alive one moment, gone the next, and the echoes left behind force us to confront an uncomfortable truth. Reality is fragile. What we consider permanent, our homes, routines, even the bonds we take for granted, can vanish in a heartbeat, leaving only memories and questions. When an entire town disappears without a trace, people start searching for answers. And Ashwood has inspired some of the strangest, most chilling theories historians and scientists have ever encountered. None of them fully explain what happened, but each offers a glimpse into the human need to make sense of the impossible. The first theory is natural disaster. Some experts suggest a sudden sinkhole or underground earthquake could have swallowed the town whole. On paper, it sounds plausible. The region is riddled with limestone formations and hidden caverns. But skeptics point out something crucial. A collapse of that magnitude would leave debris, cracks in the surrounding land, signs of structural damage. Ashwood vanished without so much as a pile of rubble. No one could explain where the matter went. Then there's the government experiment theory. Some believe Ashwood was the testing ground for classified experiments. Anything from atmospheric manipulation to secret weapons testing. Proponents cite the lack of evidence and official silence as suspicious. Could a covert project have erased the town overnight? It sounds like a sci-fi plot, but when reality presents something so inexplicable, people look to extremes for answers. Paranormal theories also abound. Some claim Ashwood slipped into another dimension, caught in a temporal anomaly. Others suggest the town was erased as a result of a supernatural event, a curse, a portal, or something beyond human understanding. While these ideas sound far-fetched, the eerie eyewitness accounts and unexplainable phenomena around the site give them a chilling weight. Travelers have reported ghostly lights, fleeting figures, and whispers that vanish before anyone can respond. Even historians admit that the human brain craves closure. When faced with the unsolvable, our minds invent possibilities. Some theories are grounded in science, others in folklore. But all share one thing in common. They attempt to fill the silence left by Ashwood, a silence so absolute that it has haunted generations. And yet, perhaps the most haunting theory isn't about how the town disappeared. It's about why. Why a place so ordinary, so filled with life, was chosen to vanish. Some suggest it was random, a cosmic accident. Others believe it was a warning, a reminder of the fragile line between normal life and utter erasure. What's undeniable is that Ashwood's story challenges everything we think we know about reality. It forces us to ask uncomfortable questions about permanence, about memory, and about the fragility of the lives we take for granted. And maybe, just maybe, that's the lesson the town intended to leave behind. Ashwood is more than a story of disappearance. It's a mirror reflecting the fragility of life and the impermanence of everything we hold dear. The town vanished overnight, but its impact lingers, teaching lessons that transcend time and geography. First, it reminds us that life is fleeting. We often assume our routines, our homes, our communities are permanent. But Ashwood shows how quickly the world can change, how fragile our sense of security really is. One day, everything can feel stable and familiar, and the next, it can vanish, leaving only questions and memories. Second, Ashwood teaches the importance of connection and memory. Even though the town disappeared, the stories of its residents live on. Diaries, photographs, and eyewitness accounts became more than artifacts. They became lifelines to a vanished reality. The town's legacy reminds us to cherish the people around us, to record our stories, and to hold onto shared moments before they slip away. Third, the mystery challenges us to embrace uncertainty. Not every question has an answer. Not every event can be explained. Ashwood forces us to confront the unknown, to accept that some mysteries may remain unsolved. And in doing so, it encourages resilience, the ability to live with questions, to keep moving forward even when the world defies understanding. Finally, Ashwood serves as a symbol of awe and humility. It's a cautionary tale about the power of forces beyond our control, natural, scientific, or perhaps even supernatural. And it's a reminder that, despite our technology, knowledge, and confidence, the world still holds secrets we cannot predict or command. Walking through the story of Ashwood, we feel the weight of vanished lives, the echoes of empty streets, and the haunting beauty of a town frozen in time. But we also feel something more, a call to live intentionally, to appreciate the ordinary, and to honor the fleeting moments that make life extraordinary. Because in the end, Ashwood wasn't just a town that disappeared. It was a story, a lesson, and a mirror reflecting the fragility and wonder of human existence. And though the town may be gone, its echoes will continue to remind us of one simple truth. Nothing is permanent, but everything leaves a mark.